Chug, chug. Right, I'll keep an eye on that. Right, I'm going to make a start then. Why hasn't the video changed from Cynthia's thing? Chug, chug. Keep an eye on that. Right, I'm going to make a start then. Right, that's on live stream. The video changed from Cynthia's thing. Switch you off. Right. Okay. I can't get it off whoever that person is. I'm trying to make it that it just shows you, Peter, but anywho, we'll make a start. Okay, welcome to everybody who's joining, who's keeping joining. We're up to 73 at the minute. I will ask again, make sure you're muted, please. This is a meeting, not a webinar. And if you're not muted, we're going to have noise, I think. Right, I think that's it. Another one. Okay, so, wow, so many people. Wonderful. We'll make a start. Hello and welcome to this Mundane to Magical conversation with a much loved returning speaker to the Mundane to Magical online summit series, the wonderful Peter Tong. I don't know how to get that person's screen off. Oh well, we shall continue. This time of year, I would normally be hosting a full lineup of speakers on the Mundane to Magical Summit, but it was not meant to be this season. However, we are blessed to have Peter join us for this special wisdom sharing. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Louise Matson, and I am a channel, a conduit for energy healing, and a shamanic practitioner. And as always, I am truly blessed to be your host. I'm always really excited to welcome Peter to the show as he shares so much high vibrational information about the times that we're living through and what is to come with regards to the energetic landscape in a way that we can easily all understand and integrate. And having an understanding of the energies influencing and affecting us on both an individual and collective level always really helps our egoic mind to ride those waves and at times really quite intense waves of energy that we're experiencing, and having a heads up as to what might be coming in the months ahead is always a great help. And for those of you who may not have met Peter, he is a master teacher and a thought leader who weaves astrology and the gene keys together to unlock the bigger picture for us on a collective and individual level. Peter is an ambassador for the gene keys modality. However, I personally consider him to be a master wisdom keeper with the amazing gift and talent of being able to ground and share the high esoteric wisdom of the gene keys into the physical in a really easy to understand way to assist us all on our spiritual journeys. The topic for today's conversation is the world's axis. And as many of you know, we've been experiencing some incredible astrological transits over the past few years. And this year continues that pattern. And March is always a really potent month as it holds the energies of the equinox as well as the eclipses. Peter will be looking at the various astrological and energetic transits affecting us this season, using a gene key profile to hone in on specific vibrations that we have and will come to experience as we traverse through the energies of the eclipses, the equinox, and much more. And as usual, Peter will be taking live questions around the gene keys or anything that we discuss on the show. So if you would like your questions answered, please use the chat box available if you're on Zoom. Unfortunately, if you're watching the live stream, I can't look at the YouTube screen at the moment. So if you're asking questions on there, they'll have to be answered after the show if I can. And hopefully you already have a copy of your Gene Key profile in front of you. But if not, you can always access that on the Gene Keeps website, https://genekeys.com/free hyphen profile. So without further ado, let's get started. I wish you a very warm welcome back to the show, Peter. As always, it is a true blessing to have you join us. Oh, you can unmute yourself. Peter, you're muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Fantastic.
Good. Good. Well, it's always courageous to do anything like this in Mercury retrograde. And, when you're coming out of being the hermit and doing this, I'm really, really grateful because this is a really, really potent time. And it's really important for people to understand the bigger picture that's going on and how it's affecting each of us individually. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here. And what a great group of people. I mean, I'm recognizing lots of names of people, of personal friends and people who've had sessions with me and from all over the world, which is the beauty of this system, of the Zoom system, where we can connect globally in such a relatively easy way. So I'm delighted to be back, Louise. Thank you for having me.
Oh, honestly, it's an absolute pleasure. The universe transpired to not allow the full season to go ahead. But then when you said, yeah, there's some really important information that needs to be shared, it was like fantastic.
Great.
So there is so much going on. We were talking about it before we went live. There is so much going on in the world anyway, generally, and there is so much going on astrologically as well, but also within the gene key profile. And as always, it always joins together. It always comes together in kind of like beautiful harmony in terms of your explanation of the energies that we're going through. So I can't wait for you to just dive into where we're at, what's going on, and what the gene key profile says about the times that we're living through. And again, how we can support ourselves as we were talking to stay balanced on that surfboard as we ride the kind of the front of the waves of all the what can sometimes seem like craziness.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Yes, indeed. So what I wanted to do at the very beginning was to give the biggest picture of all for people to understand what's really happening on a global, long-term scale. And the two gene keys involved in that process are the 37 and the 55. And what's really interesting about it is they are back to back in February, right as the shift takes place from Pisces into Aries. Now, this whole energy that we are dealing with right now is all about that Pisces edge at the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries. And so in the 37th gene key, what we're looking at is the whole age of Pisces, the 2000-year period, which is now coming to an end. And that period was all about, sadly, in the shadow, the suppression of the feminine. And this was all going all the way back to Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene walking the earth as a sacred union couple, and the priesthood not being prepared to relinquish authority and turning her into a whore and suppressing the feminine ever since. So that age is now coming to a firm end. And that is why the energies become so intense as all this energy gathers at the end of Pisces. And we're going to talk in more detail about that as we go through the session today. But just know the biggest picture here is the end of the age of Pisces. It's the end of that suppression and the weakness that was intended from the patriarchy to suppress the feminine principle. So then we step into the age of Aquarius, which is the 55th gene key, and that is right next to the 37 in the middle of February. Now, in human design, they not only talk about the annual cycles of the gene keys, they talk about the global cycle. And this global cycle is coming to an end as we come to the end of the age of Pisces. It's a 400-year period, and it's closing right now. And so Richard Rudd talks about the year 2027 and February 2027, when the 55.6 will be the gene key that's illuminated round about February 2022 in 2027.
Mm.
So this is the full embodiment of the age of Aquarius, but we are already in it.
Mm.
So we are in the void space between the old world dying and the new world beginning. And so, Louise, what's really neat about this is we have this inside look at this moment on a global scale in the immediate now, because tonight we have the equinox. It's at 2:02 a.m. my time in the Pacific Northwest, so it's 9:02 a.m. your time in the UK.
Mm.
So the equinox is when everything comes into perfect balance and harmony. And what we're seeing happening right now is a group of planets right at the end of Pisces and a
Mm.
group of planets right at the beginning of Aries. Now, we're not talking about the age of Aries, we're talking about the age of Aquarius, but Aries is the first sign. So
Yeah.
it kicks it off. So
Mm.
we are literally in this mini uh, awareness of this end point. And the equinox is that void space between. So a
Mm.
lot of people have been saying to me how they feel flat and blah and tired because
Mm.
it's the end of that age and we are in that space between. Now, I personally believe that it started on the total solar eclipse last year on April the 8th. That was the initial impulse of this new Earth energy. So
Mm.
what's important for people on this call to understand is that we are members of the transition team who made the commitment to be here at this time to take us through the end of the old age and enter into the new age of Aquarius.
Mm.
Because the new children coming in from 2027 on are going to have a total different genetic makeup.
Mm.
They're going to be different human beings. Richard talks about Homo luminous
Yeah.
rather than Homo sapiens. And we made the crazy decision that we were going to be the people that would come in and go through this very challenging time at the end of that old energy, and that we are going through this inner genetic transformation. We are becoming Homo luminous as well, but we're
Mm.
having to do it through living on the planet. It's
Yeah.
an incredible challenge, and we chose to take it on. What we do know is we have all the necessary tools to navigate through it. And what we mustn't do is lose hope. We mustn't get to that point of thinking it's never going to happen, because it is. It's happening right now as we speak.
Yeah.
So that's the bigger picture view of the whole situation that's taking place.
Mm.
So now then, what I'd like to do is to look much more at the specifics of what are
Mhm.
going on right now. And there's so much going on, I can only look into a certain amount of it that what I think is most important.
Yeah.
And one of those really important elements was the movement of Venus into retrograde motion back on the 11th of March. This is really neat. And again, there's a beautiful image of what takes place with Venus retrograde. So if you imagine Venus is in the night sky on the eastern horizon, and she's in this beautiful, large, sparkly, bright star. And as she approaches retrograde, she drops out of the sky and disappears. And what's happening is she's going into the underworld,
Mm.
and then she's going to re-emerge in 6 weeks' time on the eastern horizon. She's the morning star.
Yeah.
So this 6 week period is asking us to look deeply into our Venus values in the
Mhm.
underworld. So it's a re-evaluation and a reflection on what we are in our lives right now. And so she represents our personal values, our relationships, and our money.
Mm.
And we've got to now look at ourselves and say, what isn't working for me? What in my life is no longer valid? What is not serving my needs? And we're going to be really honest with ourselves in that process. And then on Saturday this week, again, it's lovely timing, Louise. On Saturday this week, we've got what's called the Venus Star Point. And this is one of my favorite astrological events because Venus does this dance with the sun over an 8 year period. And if you can imagine what she does is she comes into a conjunction with the sun 5 times during that 8-year period. So she creates a perfect five-pointed star, which
Mm.
is the sacred feminine. And this particular Venus star point is happening at 2 degrees of Aries, just after the equinox on Saturday. In other words, she's saying, this is a brand new beginning for you guys to really now look at yourself and set this real clear intention for what you want for yourself in this new earth energy coming in.
Mm.
So we've got a few more days to look into that. Now, at the same time, this really neat thing happened where Venus was in retrograde motion and Mercury was in forward motion, and they came into a perfect conjunction, Mercury and Venus together.
Oh.
And what's that about? Well, Mercury is all about our mind.
Mm.
And it took place in the 17th gene key, line 6, which is all about the mind and our opinions and beliefs. So when that conjunction took place, it was basically saying, let's make sure our mind isn't tricking us into
Mm.
believing things that are not true anymore.
Yeah.
What is it our mind still believes that we now are not involved in? And letting all of that go.
Mm.
And then amazingly, last Saturday, Mercury turned retrograde at the same degree that Venus turned retrograde. So now they're coming back together in
Mm.
retrograde motion. It's like it's remarkable. And because of their in retrograde motion, they're going to be together for at least a month.
Oh,
So
wow.
we've got this whole time now to review our thinking and our
Mm.
opinions and our beliefs as we go through this reevaluation with Venus. It's just to me, a beautiful opportunity for us to really get it, to really understand ourselves and what we're actually here for.
Absolutely. I know people think, oh, when a planet's in retrograde, it's a bad thing, but it's not. It's that ability to review, to reflect, so that when it moves forward, you can move forward, having really established what it is, the direction of flow that you want to travel on. And with Mercury and Venus, like you say, Venus being all about what it is that motivates you, what it is that really lights you up. And so many people have been dimmed down at the beginning of this life experience, and it's now about us illuminating, homo luminous, lighting ourselves up. It's like, okay, get rid of everything that's kind of been holding you in that dimming pattern, and what's going to kind of really drive you forward to let you shine. That's really beautiful. That's
Absolutely. And there's more to come because we keep getting these impulses to let go and begin, let go and begin. So the
Mm.
next one was the total lunar eclipse, which was again last Thursday. In my time, it was exactly around midnight. So it was very visible in the whole of North America. And it was a total lunar eclipse, which means that the moon gets completely eclipsed by the earth moving between the sun and the moon. So this is a massive letting go opportunity, and it was taking place in Pisces and Virgo. So Pisces is where the sun was,
Mm.
and sorry, Pisces, yeah, where the sun was, and Virgo was where the moon was. That axis, that Pisces Virgo axis, you can look at it as being opposing each other, or you can see as being supporting each other. So Pisces is all about the dream world. It's all about consciousness. It's all about flowing with the sea of all that is.
Mm.
Whereas Virgo is all about the earth and matter, get down to reality here. So that's where you see them as opposition. But in my view, I see the Virgo helping to ground the Pisces energy in.
Mm.
Now, this took place in the 6th and the 36th gene key. So those two polarities, the 6 was in Virgo, the 36 in Pisces. And those two gene keys together create conflict. It's
Mm.
the battle of the sexes. And let
Mm.
me tell you how that works typically. And it can be internal or it can be with a partner or a person in your life. So the 36 is the person who has nervous anxiety, worry. And the 6 person reacts defensively against that person's panic and worry. So it takes you down the rabbit hole of conflict. It's the battle of the sexes. But it can be an internal battle where you're annoyed with yourself for
Mm.
being in nervous anxiety.
Yeah.
So this lunar eclipse was all about conflict resolution. It was
Mm.
looking at our relationships in the world and where are there people in my life that I'm no longer really connected with, where those conflicts exist. Because what's happening as we go through this process, and Richard Rudd talks about it in the 49th gene key of the forking in the path.
Mm.
The forking in the path indicates two very clear paths. One group of people are going to stay in the old world energy, in familiarity, what they know, believing it brings a sense of safety and security, which it doesn't.
Mm.
And the other path is stepping through the threshold into the unknown.
Mm.
And that is going to be, as Richard Rudd says, beyond our expectations, beyond bliss. It's
Mm.
going to be the new Garden of Eden coming to earth. And why wouldn't you take that path? Because of the fear of not knowing what it's going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what's happening is people are choosing that path right now, and they have to make their own choice. So you will find people disappearing from your life.
Mm.
And it may be your choice or their choice because there's no longer a match.
Yeah.
And it's really important to not hang on to people. If
Mm.
someone wants to separate from you, and some of it's really sudden and unexpected with no explanation, we just
Yeah.
have to say, bless you. I
Yeah.
send you on your way with love and let them go. If it's family members, it's really challenging because we want them to come on the journey with us. And some of them clearly are not going to.
Mm.
And this is the personal choice that everyone is making. So again, all you can do is hold them in your heart for the highest and best outcome for them. But there are some fence sitters
Mm.
who are going to make a very late decision to join us.
Yeah.
So don't discount anybody. You know, in the twinkling of an eye, as it says in the Bible, people can make that shift at the very last minute of their lives.
Mm.
So let's stay open to the potential that all the right people will make all the right choices for their future self.
Mm.
So this is that 36-6 energy, but the beautiful aspect to that lunar eclipse was karmic closure.
Right.
This was the opportunity to bring everything to a completion, including our ancestral wounding and our incarnational lineage.
Mm.
Whatever's happened in past lives, whatever's happened through our ancestral lineage, we could let it all know.
Oh, that's the question of the universe. How do we know what to do?
Okay. Remember you talked at the beginning about riding that wave? We have to let go of any expectations whatsoever and
Mhm.
allow it all to unfold in front of us as we walk through life. And the key element is synchronicity. It's really, really important to follow any synchronicity that shows up, however small and silly they may appear to be. And I've had this incredible series of ridiculously silly and wonderful synchronicities. So what I do is I pay close attention to them and acknowledge them and follow them. And then the bigger synchronicities will happen. And I'm not going to go into the details of this story, but we had a massive synchronicity that led us to go to Richard's retreat last November. But we didn't go because of the retreat. We went for other things that happened, which told us we had to go to that retreat.
Right. Yeah.
So this is the way in which you now lead your life. You get into flow and grace and let it happen, riding that wave without
Mm.
judging anything, without feeling attached to anything. And
Mm.
that's where it's tricky
Yeah.
because we've got to let go
Mm.
and we've got to let go of our old identity as well.
Mm.
And that's what that lunar eclipse was about. So people should consider what happened the last week before the
Mm.
eclipse. What were the
Mm.
bumps in the road?
Mm.
Because the 36th gene key, where the sun was, is the gene key of crisis.
Right.
And as it says somewhere, in crisis is when Christ is.
Yeah.
It's that moment of truth
Mm.
where we don't go into despair, but we recognize we're in a potential dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And then we remember, this is the key, we remember that we've got this inner light shining within us, which will always illuminate the path.
Mm. Yeah.
So, so we've got a question from Joy. Do you want to answer that now or leave it for later?
Um, it's up to you. I mean, if you're in your
Well,
flow, we
well,
can,
we can flow with it. Yeah.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
she's got the 55.3 in her evolution.
Yeah.
So the line 3 is what we're talking about, which is why it's good timing. It's perfect timing because the line 3 is all about our exposure to humanity. The
Mm.
line 3 is saying, what is it about my life that takes me into all these challenging situations? And it's because you chose to get a deep and profound understanding of the human state.
Mm.
So it's almost like you're at the center of your own soap opera and you can see all the machinations of being human. And what we're being asked to do is to step out of the emotional entanglement in that and become the neutral witness. Now, the 55th shadow is victimhood. So anybody that's got a 55 must now pay close attention to whenever they're playing the role of victim. We all do it, but specifically in the 55th gene key, whenever we are blaming, complaining, or comparing, that's the shadow of the 55, which we need to move out of. And the way we do it is to first of all become aware that we're in victimhood. Then we pause and we breathe and we step out of the victimhood. We pivot into taking full responsibility for whatever it was we were complaining about, because
Mm.
that's the way in which we find our freedom. Freedom is an internal aspect of our existence. It's letting go of that blaming and complaining. So that's very, very important in terms of that 55.3. So when she can step out of emotional entanglement and being the victim, she steps into freedom. And then she goes into that beautiful flow in her life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I just saw another question come up. It's gone again. I can't see it now,
It
but
it was what's the best way to ground? The person is a death doula and the energies are really intense right now, which is unsurprising. Um, as
okay.
people
Well,
do take
there's
a
a simple,
different path.
sorry.
Well, people are choosing to take, one
Yeah,
path or the other
that's
in
right.
many different ways, and that's one of them. So,
And there are a lot of people dying.
mhm.
A lot of people have decided not to go through this and are going. So I was laughing because the best way to ground is to hang out with me. That's I'm a grounding rod, right? So by being on this Zoom call, you are getting a big grounding. So in the Gene Keys, they've just put out a brand new transmission called the Star Pearl, and you fill out this self-assessment in the Star Pearl, and you have a lower set of 3 in a triangle, and an upper step of 3 in your higher expression. So in all humility, my higher expression is grounded role model.
Mm.
That didn't
So,
take long.
so that's what I'm here to be, is to be the grounded role model.
All right, I've muted them.
So for the death doula, the key thing actually is to spend time out in nature,
Mm.
is to get fully grounded with Mother Earth, because she will help her be the death doula to help people make that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely true. Peter is the most grounded person that I think I've ever met. Yeah, no, it is though, and it's an important aspect of the work that you do because you have that gift and that talent, as I said in the introduction, of grounding really high vibration information into the physical in a way that really lands in people, that people can really integrate with a great deal of ease, and that's one of the benefits of having a session with you. However, you know, like you say, being on this call, people are absorbing your energy. They're absorbing that energy through the transmission. Um,
That's
so yeah,
right. So it's just to relax into this Zoom call, get you grounded. So
Absolutely.
another question just came up about the 6.1 in the core wound. So we may as well address that as well as we're talking about this total lunar eclipse this week. And we're still in that energy, so it's not too late.
Yeah.
So the line one core wound is the deepest possible fear any family lineage could have. And it's often to do with the end of the tribe being wiped out, not having enough food, not having enough money. It's the most primal survival instinct. So
Mm.
you've got to dig deep to get down in real honesty to that wound. And remember, it's not your wound, it's the family lineage wound that you are carrying in your DNA. And so the sixth gene key was the gene key we spoke about in conflict with the 36. So
Mm.
family conflicts are what need to be cleared in that particular question. And so the sixth gene key then is part of the what's called the ring of alchemy. All the gene keys belong to these codon rings with similarity of function. And the sixth gene key belongs to the ring of alchemy. So clearing this wound is best done through a transmutation process to release any conflicts that this particular person has in their lives, because then it will reverberate all the way back through the lineage. The beautiful and most wonderful thing you can do on behalf of your ancestors is to clear this wound.
Mm.
Set yourself free, and then you're setting them free as well. Because when someone passes over with some regret or resentment or anger or bitterness, whatever it is, they can't do anything about it now because they're not in this realm.
Mm.
We are the only ones who live in this 3D world at this time that can actually do anything about it. So if you make the commitment to bring that healing to the family lineage, then this is the way to go for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And one of the things that I love about the ancestral healing work, and particularly from a shamanic perspective and the energetic perspective, is you're clearing it for your future generations as well.
absolutely correct. Yes. Was there any other question we want to answer before we move on?
Um, oh, another one's just popped up. Um, Somebody who's on their iPhone has said just to make the statement that they had a session with Peter in 2018 and everything that he shared has come to fruition. So
Wow.
that's really just to say that, okay, this is a piece of work that was channeled by Richard Rudd, but it's a channeled piece of information. It's a channeled transmission, and it really can answer a lot of questions, but it also can really assist you on your journey as well. And which is why for me it's so beautiful to have a really deep understanding of it. And the beauty of you talking through these for these people on this call, and then if you do one-to-ones with people, is that they get that in-depth understanding of their particular aspect within their profile, which is just amazing.
So this is an energetic transmission that we're doing now. So it's going to affect all the people on this call in some way or another. So stuff will happen inside you. But as we're talking about the ancestral wound and the genetics of it, one of the things that we've been led to believe, which isn't true, is that we have fixed genetics. And thank goodness that Bruce Lipton was the person to recognize epigenetics, which means you can change your genetic makeup. So I just want to tell you a quick story to give you a lot of insight and help and support. That I had a session with a woman last July, and she had a genetic illness which was to do with the ancestral lineage. And we had this session, and in the session, I could see that she had two gene keys in her profile, which were both transmutational gene keys. And I said to her, I think you can actually clear this mutation in your genetic makeup from your ancestors. So she contacted me just a few weeks ago, and she completely cleared that genetic illness. And what she did was really interesting. And I didn't tell her to do this. This is what she chose to do. Because it was the genetic imprint on her moment of conception, she took herself back to that moment of conception in the womb, and she saturated that moment of conception with love. And that cleared that wound from her being. And I don't know if you all know this, but it's a beautiful thing that again you don't typically see. I know about it because I know a woman who saw it. But when you are conceived, there is a flash of light. When the sperm and the egg come together, this is your big bang as you are incarnating into reality. It's a beautiful moment. It's a very sacred moment. And the whole process is a miracle anyway, isn't it, really, when you think about it? That moment that leads to who we are today. But
Mm.
the beautiful thing is we can change our genetics, and we are going through that transformational time right now.
Mm.
So just be open to the fact that whatever you're carrying inside you can be changed.
Mm. Absolutely. Um,
So
I know
go
you've
on,
got a
sorry.
lot more that you want to talk about. So if we continue on with the transits and the bits and pieces that you wanted to talk to, and we'll weave more questions
Yep.
through.
Okay. So this is a good transition time. So can you pull up the equinox profile?
Yeah.
Oh, so Caroline's got the pictures of that flash of light when her grandkids were born.
Oh, wow.
Brilliant. Look at that.
Can you see that?
It needs to go up slightly. That's it. Yeah, great. Okay. So this is the profile for the equinox. You'll see it says March 20th, 202, Victoria, British Columbia. So where I am, this is the actual profile for that equinox moment. And for those of you that don't know the gene keys intimately, this is the profile that you work with for your own birth moment. And Deb saw her daughter at the moment of conception. Brilliant. These are all beautiful aspects of this journey that we are on. We've dropped off the bottom of the screen again there.
Oh,
Can
wait.
you just, so you need to shrink it down slightly. Okay, there we are.
Oh,
So why this is really significant is when we look at this profile, the activation sequence are the four outer spheres, the 25 at the top. If you want to go up there, Lou, the 25 at the top, the
can you see it?
46 on the right, the 15 at the bottom, and the 10 on the left. Those four, because of the design of the profile, represent the four most significant dates in the annual calendar. So the 25 is the spring equinox, which is tonight. The 46 is exactly 6 months after that, and that is the fall equinox. The 10th gene key is the winter solstice, and the 15th gene key is the summer solstice. Now, why this is so important, these are the four dates that the ancients knew were critically important and why they built all the standing stone circles and all the rituals that take place on these four dates. And Rory Duff, who is a brilliant dowser in England, has determined through his dowsing that when these gene keys, sorry, when these gene keys and these dates are illuminated, is when all the ley lines and vortexes on the planet come into harmonic resonance. And why this is important is that when Richard Rudd talks about 2027, February, everything is going to come into what he calls rhythmic resonance. It's the celestial music. And what I'm noticing with the people that I'm having sessions with, it's amazing how many of those people are letting go of their previous jobs, particularly in the corporate world. They just can't be in it anymore. And they're turning to their true calling, which is some form of healing or counseling practice.
Mm.
And what is very common is people are now working with sound frequency because this is about coming into rhythmic resonance. So working with the voice, working with the crystal bowls, the Tibetan bowls, the solfeggio frequencies
Mhm.
is what's taking place here.
Yeah.
So this is really, really important to incorporate sound work into whatever you're doing in your own world, even if it's just listening to good quality music, because
Mm.
this is the way in which it's all going to come into alignment. And it's through the 50th gene key which turns from corruption into harmony.
Mm.
So it's the harmony of the spheres. Tuning forks and color, absolutely yes. So let's talk about this 25th gene key, which is the gene key. It's already began its illumination. It's already started yesterday. Yesterday was the 25.1, and now going through the equinox moment is at the 25.2, which is March 20th tomorrow, 2:02 a.m. Pacific Northwest time. So it's going to be at different times, obviously in different time zones, but that is when it is in the Pacific Northwest. So Richard Rudd says this about the 25th gene key. If you are going to study just one gene key, this is the one to do. If you only want to get involved in one gene key, get involved with the 25, because the 25 takes you from a very deep, dark place into the most magnificent place that you can be in. Because the shadow of this gene key is constriction.
Mm.
That constriction is when you're not feeling the love that you need in your life. And it leads to this tightness in the upper chest. If you think about going from your heart to your throat and feeling that tightness in the upper chest, that's the shadow of constriction. But it can lead to constriction in the whole body where you feel this tightness. Well, what's happening in the world today? We're all being attempted to be constricted by the system itself, because the system is losing. And so the system is trying to keep us in that constriction. And that's why it's so important for us to recognize it's the end of that old world, the old patriarchy, the old systems, the old governments. They are falling apart and they are imploding on themselves and each other. So we do not want to focus on that. We can keep one eye on it, but we mustn't go down the rabbit hole of the fear associated with what's going on in the world. So the 25th gene key is the gift of acceptance. So what we need to do is to create some space in our hearts to accept everything that's happened in our world. And Richard talks about 3 levels: allow, accept, embrace. Allowing means you allow yourself to feel the constriction. You may not like it, but you allow it to be. This is the physical aspect of us. Then the acceptance comes through our emotional body. We now emotionally accept what's happened in our lives, what's brought the constriction. And then we actually end up embracing it. We saturate it with love, just like that woman did with her inherited disease. We now embrace it with love, because what we're experiencing now is a love revolution, not a fighting revolution. And I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on in the talk. So when you can go through self-acceptance, it leads to this wonderful universal love of self-love. And this is the love of all sentient beings. It's not a personal one-on-one love, although it includes that. It's bigger than that. And when we can feel that love in our hearts, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, Lou, I noticed when you, in your Zoom link, that your word was love, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, the passcode. Yeah,
Incredible.
the passcode was love.
So I do know people who've actually become saturated with universal love, and it's an amazing experience. I haven't personally, but I know people who have, and there are no words to describe. And it is absorption. Richard talks about absorbing love. So when you fall in love with yourself, it can't be stopped. And it just grows, and then it grows out of you, and you expand it out into the world. And that's what this love revolution is about. So this is about sowing the seeds of love on the spring equinox. And I don't know what's happening in your world, but in my world, the spring flowers are just emerging. We've already seen the crocuses and the snowdrops, and now we're moving into the daffodils and the cherry blossoms, and it's the warming of the earth. And it's this beautiful opening into warmth in our hearts. And then the 15th gene key at the very bottom is the gene key of the summer solstice. And you'll see, if you can just scroll up, so there we go. The fluorescence in the 15th gene key is our own inner flowering. So we sow the seeds of love on the spring equinox, and that leads to our own inner blossoming on the summer solstice. So this is what we are now doing. We're spreading this frequency of love out into the world through those two gene keys. So see this as a 3-month period where you can flow into that. And while we've got this profile up, I just want to look at the IQ, because the IQ is actually where Venus is at the moment. And remember I said earlier that Venus and Mercury came into that conjunction, and then Mercury moved on and then is coming back. So right now, Mercury, you don't see Mercury in the profile here, but Mercury is in the 17.5, and it's coming back to where Venus is in the 17.1. The 17th gene key is this shadow of having set opinions. And that's why I said earlier it's so important to now let go of those set opinions. And the 18th gene key in our attraction sphere is the shadow of judgment. And those two are programming partners which tend to get us stuck in our mental processes. It's going round the loop in the mind of judgment and opinion. And in your attraction sphere, particularly important to not be in judgment of people. Really important to be in this space of unconditional love and acceptance of everybody exactly where they are. Now, another gene key to mention in this profile for today, or for tonight and the equinox, is the 31 in the vocation sphere. The line 3 core wound is shame in the vocation sphere. And that's where we are looking into all of the aspects of our life where we have felt ashamed of ourselves or other people have shamed us. And it's about, again, letting go of all of that energetically, because the 31 is the gift of being able to explain difficult concepts that most people can't do. And it can either be in the written word or the spoken word. So on this equinox, it's a really good thing for you to set the intention that from now on, you will be able to explain things really clearly and help people understand what the heck's happening. Because coming down to the 15th gene key at the bottom, this is the gene key of the summer solstice, but it's also deeply connected with nature and the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance, most of you know, I'm sure, is the resonance of the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And what's been happening over the last 2 years or so is it went from being a constant value at 7.8 hertz to suddenly shifting up into higher frequencies. And at one point a few weeks ago, it was so high that the people who measure it said it can't be the Schumann resonance. It was up over 100 hertz. So Mother Earth is herself shifting into a higher frequency so she can step into her highest expression in this new Earth. She is becoming light body. She is becoming the Earth ship Merkaba. We're also getting these massive solar ejections coming through the sun. So we are being compressed into our diamond selves. We are becoming light. We are becoming homo luminous. So what is happening to a lot of people who don't get this is as they unfold and they connect to nature, they are having these bliss type experiences without understanding it. And it can be scary because it feels as if they are dissolving away into nothing. Well, you are. You're dissolving into the oneness, which is the whole point of being here on the planet, is to connect to spirit at that deeply profound level. But if you don't understand that, then it can be challenging and scary. So one of the things that we are here to be in the future is to help people understand what the heck is just happening. And it's okay. It's supposed to happen. And you'll always come back from that experience. But it's giving you this opportunity to have this dress rehearsal of what it's like to be in the bliss what it's like to be in ecstasy. And those are the Siddhi frequencies. They are the God-given gifts coming into our being as we go through this process.
Mhm.
Well, whoever iPhone is, that's a great thing to do. You've just explained it perfectly. Grounding outside in the earth, sitting at the base of an old oak tree. Could not be better. I just want to comment now on the 53 in the EQ, because the EQ is the emotional body, and it's on the sixth line, which is the tendency to go up and out of body. And the 53 is the self-sabotaging gene key. And so what's so important about this is as we're stepping into this new earth energy, stepping through the threshold into the unknown, the 53 shadow is the fear of not knowing what's coming next. I don't know what it is. So we actually sabotage ourselves just through an illusion of fear. So it's really important that as we go through this shift of the ages into this new earth energy, that we confront any fears that we have about not knowing what it's going to be like. Because Richard Rudd is saying it's going to be beyond our belief. So when you're setting your new intentions for this new earth energy, make sure you don't limit it in any way. Because when you set an intention, if you're not careful, you'll limit what that can become. So what I suggest we do is focus on the feelings we're going to have when this is already manifested rather than specific details. Now I'm
Yeah.
coming back to the 13, because the 13.6 is saying as a collective, when we first came into incarnation, we weren't totally convinced we wanted to do this. We had this apprehension, this uncertainty. This is going to be tough. This is not going to be simple. It's not going to be a blissful ride. It's going to be challenging. So a number of us didn't incarnate fully when we first came in because we were not sure we wanted to follow through. Well, the great news is you all have followed through and you've gone beyond that uncertainty and now you're here, but you may still be thinking, why am I here in your life? Because the 13th gene key is the shadow of discord. And that discord is basically looking at our lives and saying, wow, why did all this stuff happen? Can I really trust the universal life force flow? And there is even a goddess of discord, and she is called Eris. She is an asteroid in the astrological journey, but in mythology, she was the goddess who was not invited to the wedding. And she showed up anyway and caused all sorts of trouble and chaos because she will not rest until justice is served. It actually led to the Trojan War in the Greek mythology. So what we now know is what we are representing is a feminine spiritual warrior who is all inclusive. She won't rest until everyone is included. So again, although we've talked about the forking in the path, we are offering the opportunity for everybody to be included. And then they make their own choice as to whether they do or they do not. I'm going to jump now to the 10th gene key on the left, which is the winter solstice, because this shadow is all to do with narcissism. And it's at the deep level of the unconscious in the profile. So this is the energy of the patriarchy that has tried to suppress all of us in the way in which our governments have been working, the way in which the old systems of business and corporate world have been operating. And if you look at the world right now, all of the leaders are narcissists in the Western world. So again, this is about our opportunity to bring all of this to an end, bringing karmic closure to the narcissist. And what we need to do is to make sure that we have recovered from any narcissistic exposure we've been exposed to, which tends to shrink us down. And sadly, one of the elements of narcissism is that we become attached to the narcissist. There's a codependency that gets built. And what we now see that none of that is true, that we now need to get ourselves completely crystal clear in our own personal sovereignty. And the gift is naturalness. This is just being true to ourselves. And we've got to stop working so hard. We are not here to be slaves to the system. And the gift of that naturalness becomes the city of being. And what that means is it is just our presence that does it. We don't need to work hard. We just need to be in our true self, radiating that presence out into the world. No airs and graces, no masks, no hidden agendas, just being me, just being you. And so we're still going to work, but we're not going to push ourselves to the limit. And we are going to recognize our presence is what truly, truly matters. Then the last aspect of the profile is the pearl and the culture. And notice they're the same gene key repeated. And this is line 4, and this is the heart chakra. So this is saying we are all networkers who are here to open our hearts, to share our loving hearts with our community. And then we attract into our lives all those people who are part of our soul tribe. So that's what's going to happen over the next little while. We are going to attract in all of our people, our soul tribe. And it's going to be beautiful when we can have conversations without any reservation, that we can just chat about what we know to be true and not worry about what other people think. And the 35th gene key is a very important gene key, because this is the gene key where people have a relatively low level of serotonin in their system. And so it sort of leads to this blah feeling of this flatness. And it's because we tend to go on external adventures to try and satiate ourselves, but the real answer lies within. So what we're being called to do is to now go deep within ourselves in quiet contemplation or meditation, and deep down, dig deep. And I'm suggesting we go down into the belly. Richard Rudd would say that what is happening right now as we go through this transformation is that our solar plexus is coming online. So what is going to happen over this next 2-year period is that our mind is going to take a back seat and not be running the show, and our gut instincts and our intuitive heart are going to lead the way. So this is a really important moment to recognize the need to drop down into the belly, right behind the navel. Put your hands over the navel in quiet contemplation and tune into your solar plexus, because it is being activated right now. I know some people are actually feeling it as a sort of an agitation in the belly. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just your solar plexus is being activated. And then you really need to pay close attention to these synchronicities, to these intuitive knowings, and not allow the mind to discount the knowing that you have in your gut. So the first gut reaction is the one to pay attention to, and then follow that with the heart. So we're softening the belly and opening the heart. And then the mind will be in its rightful place, which is serving the feminine. So the feminine becomes the predominant energy and the male backs it up. We're not destroying the male. The masculine energy is still required, but we're working now with the sacred masculine rather than the shadow masculine. So now we come into this harmony and balance on the equinox, because this is the balance point. When the sun crosses the equator, where the night and the day, the dark and the light, the masculine and feminine come into perfect balance and harmony. So for example, where I live, the sun rises at 7:20 and the sunset is at 7:20. We've got this perfect balance between the two. So this is balancing the hemispheres of the brain. It's bringing them into this harmonic balance, balancing the gut and coming into this space. So going within is where the adventure actually resides. And don't be surprised if when you go inside yourself and you rest in your belly, that you step into that boundlessness, the timelessness of oneness, of everythingness and nothingness. And don't worry about dissolving into nothingness. You will always come back, but you'll come back with these greater gifts. So that was a bit of a rant-a-loo over the whole profile. I hope people were able to keep up. The
Yeah,
last,
I think
the
they
last
did.
one.
I've been reading the comments and they're just saying, you've summarized all of the material with magnificent articulation. So spot on.
So the final one I haven't mentioned is the 46, which is the gene key which leads you into ecstasy, so long as you can feel safe and secure in your body. So the other place I recommend people go is into the root chakra, and in a quiet inner meditation, journey down into your root and feel into how it feels there. People who have not been there tend to get agitated or discomfort because that's where our insecurity resides. In any situation in our life that has caused us any trauma or insecurity, it sits right down in the root. And that is the 46 gene key. And you'll see the shadow word is seriousness.
Mhm.
So there's a tendency to become over serious when you are in that level of insecurity in the root. So when you travel down into the root inside the body, I'm not talking about going to earth. I'm talking about staying inside the base of the body and feeling into how it feels down there. And often there will be this discomfort or agitation, but then you sit with it and you allow it to evolve and release and activate. And when you do that, there's this beautiful thing that happens where your inner safety and security creates a vortex of safety and security around you in the outer world. So then there's this paradox that when you feel safe and secure inside your physical body, it creates this vortex of safety around you. So it's the most powerful and wonderful thing to do, but a lot of spiritual people avoid it. It's a spiritual bypass. So when I ask people if you do a grounding exercise, most people will say, yes, I go down through the chakras and into Mother Earth and at the center of the earth. And what they're doing there is missing the point of grounding, which is in the root of the body. You can still do the connection to the center of the earth, so long as you do the center of the gravity of your being in your root chakra.
Mm.
And that's what leads to feeling totally safe in the end. And then you reach this beautiful space of delight and ecstasy. And on Richard's website, there's a beautiful section called the ecstatics, where he's done these one-on-one monologues with people who walk the earth in that ecstatic state. And he's had that ecstatic state twice himself in his life. And it means that we can tune into the frequency of his voice when he's talking about these ecstatic beings. So it's well worth going into there's a little paragraph on each one on the website. Just plug in the ecstatics in the search box, and then you can tune into that frequency of ecstasy to lead you further into this beautiful journey that we're on. Remember, we are bringing heaven to earth. That's what this is about.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing, as within, so without. The answers aren't outside of us, it's inside of us. And when we, as you say, feel safe within ourselves, we create safety around us and in the outer reality.
Exactly. So if you want to take down the profile then, Lou.
Yeah.
So the two final things I want to talk about now are what happens after the equinox, which is on March 29th. We have the partial solar eclipse, and on March 30th, we have this amazing event taking place where Neptune finally leaves Pisces. It's been there since 2011, and Neptune has not been in Aries for 165 years.
Wow.
So what's this all about? It's about Neptune in Pisces gathering all the spiritual energy that we needed to take us into the new energy in the new earth of Neptune in Aries. So what I did was I looked back 165 years to the last time that Neptune was in Aries, 1860. What happened in 1860? Abraham Lincoln became president of the United States which led to the Civil War and the end of the black slave trade.
Mhm.
So we are also slaves to the system today. So this is now coming to an end.
Mhm.
And it's going to be chaotic and difficult for a period of time. But we know it's leading to this letting go of being slaves to the system, so that we will step into our own sovereign selves and become free. And remember, it's a love revolution, not a fighting revolution. And as someone said in the chat box earlier, fighting just leads to more fighting. And when I'm witnessing what's happening in Canada and America right now, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's like two little boys fighting with their wooden swords. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it's got to come to an end. So we're ready for this to take place. And Aaliyah's talking about having a beautiful clearing with her innocent newborn child. Yes, this is a rebirthing moment for all of us to rebirth ourselves into love. This is all about the love frequency, which is now emerging through this equinox and into this Neptune shifting into Aries. So when you think about all the work that you have done in your life to bring you to this place, you're now stepping into taking sacred action in your own life. We're not talking about protesting. We're not talking about waving flags. We're talking about your own inner intention to create heaven on earth through this love frequency. And that's what this is really all about. So then on the 29th, the partial solar eclipse is on the north node of the moon, which is our future destiny. So this is that opportunity then to really focus on what we want our lives to be in the new earth energy, in total freedom, in total peace, with love in our hearts. So setting clear intention on that 29th. And when I looked at some of the language that astrologers are using for that, it's at 9 degrees of Aries. It's awakening, being guided by a higher power. And that higher power is coming through us. It's a moment of deep reflection, because on that day, Mercury in retrograde motion is going to be conjunct Neptune in the last moment of Pisces. So it's about taking a quiet moment of deep reflection before this magnificent change begins. This is our rebirthing, as Aaliyah just said. It's returning to the innocence of our child, which is the 25th gene key. It's returning to the innocence of love. When you're a little child under the age of 4, you're totally innocent. You're living in this realm that you don't really belong to, because you're just coming in and you're just in this absolute pure, naive, innocent self. And then the world kicks in to cause all this discord and challenges us. Well, now this is the return back to that innocence, that love of the energy of the new earth energy coming in. It's fantastic. So we want to be bold visionaries as this energy comes in, without any restrictions whatsoever. There's going to be continued upheaval, inevitably, for the next little while. And what we're looking at here, is it manipulation or is it liberation? So whatever's happening in your life, am I being manipulated or am I being liberated? And it's up to you to liberate yourself. And one of the I Ching masters has said that this year is the year of the 49th gene key, which partners with the 55th gene key, and it's called the ring of, what's it called? I've just had a bit of a blank. It will come in a second. The ring of the whirlwind.
Oh, wow.
So we are in this tumultuous whirlwind, everything getting stirred up, the revealing of the truth. There is no hiding place. So the only advantage the dark side had in the past was secrecy. And now there isn't any. Whatever they try and do, we can see it immediately what it is. So it's game over. They just don't know it yet. But it won't be much longer before it all falls apart.
Mm.
So this bold visioning, recognizing, cutting through the illusion to the truth. And it's our own inner truth. Because what's being put out in the world right now, we have no idea what's true and what isn't. So we have to go back inside ourselves. What's my truth? What do I truly believe in? What are my true values? That's the key to this next phase. And it's going to be exciting. And guess what? The dreamers are going to become the new leaders. As we
Yay.
go from this Pisces to the Aries, the dreamers are going to be taking action and making it happen.
Mm.
And when I look around the world and I look at all the leaders in the world, I'm thinking, how are we going to get out of this mess? And I noticed that Cryon did a really interesting channel a while ago, and not that long ago, a few weeks ago, and he started talking about the 1990s. And I think, why is he talking about the 1990s? And he was talking about it because he wrote a book back then. Lee Carroll, his real name, and Jan Tobar, and they wrote a book called The Indigo Children. And I remember I was the school principal at that time, and I was working with the Indigo Children in my school. So it brought all that back. But what he was saying was those Indigo Children are now in their 30s.
Mhm.
They are going to become the new leaders. They're already moving into political realms in the background. So they are going to be the transition team that are going to change this. So again, we can take a back seat, we can sit down in our Adirondack chairs and relax and enjoy the process because we've done our job, which is to hold sacred space for this time to come.
Yeah, and I know we were talking before we kind of opened up the Zoom that there's a lot of people that feel quite burnt out because they have been holding the space
Yes,
for such a long time, and it has felt like, oh my God, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? But it's appreciating that it is happening, and we've done a fantastic job at holding the space to enable this time to they're showing me a flower to kind of bloom and for the
yep,
petals to completely unfurl, and those inner petals are the ones that are coming through. They're the ones that we've held the space so that they
exactly.
could come in this moment and be who they came here to be as well.
Well, I'm getting shivers on that one, Lou. So you're absolutely right, and that's exactly what you've just said is exactly what I believe to be true. So thank you.
No, it's the words just came through. So that's absolutely fantastic. I'm aware of the time, and I know that you said you wanted to do an hour and a quarter to an hour and 20. So I'm just wondering, you're one of those light bearers. You love it. Fantastic, Stephanie. That's absolutely beautiful. Yes, it has been a long road for those in their 70s. Yeah, it's felt long for me, and I'm in my 50s. But yeah, but one thing that I will say, and I can dip, especially in the winter periods, I can dip down into the, oh, goodness gracious, we've been doing this such a long time. But give yourself a massive pat on the back. You've held some incredible space. Doesn't matter whether you stood on a pulpit, doesn't matter whether you've, focused on keeping house and home or doing a job or whatever. You've held that space energetically. You've brought this frequency in, this divine frequency, this light, and you have maintained that light to the degree that was possible to be maintained. And we've created the platform. And as Spirit's just said, that flower is now able to unfurl, and those inner petals are now able to come out and bloom and be seen. So give yourselves a massive pat on the back. We don't do that enough. We really don't do that enough to appreciate the work that we've done, just being here and remaining here and holding that vibration.
So thank you for that, Lou. Absolutely. So I just saw a question about the self-assessment. So that self-assessment was part of the Star Pearl, which is a new transmission that Richard has put out. The good news is you can join it at any time. So you just have to go online and check on Star Pearl. It's a 9-month process, but it's very much a self-directed one. And that self-assessment is part of that. So it's a whole new transmission that Richard's brought out.
Mm.
I just also perhaps should mention about the special offer that I'm putting out before I
Oh,
go.
yeah.
So what I offer is a 1 hour journey with you through your own personal profile, looking at all the different aspects of it and listening to what your own issues, concerns are, your intentions for what's to come, any aspects of your life that you want to resolve and change and get some insight about. And it's really deep and profound. And it's that 1 hour will give you a long period of time to do the work on yourself, but you'll have that deeper understanding of what's playing a role in your life. And the beautiful thing about it is when you look at your own profile, this is not numbers on a page. This is your own genetic makeup. So it's showing you what you've lived your life, and it takes out the emotional sting or emotional charge from things that happened in your life, because you realize it happened for a reason, to show you something you needed to see to evolve into a higher perspective of yourself.
Mm.
So I'm just offering that for anyone that wants to take that on. Lots of people on this call have already had one. More and more people are coming back for a second session. And because part of the 55th Gene Key is about sacred union, couples coming together, I'm having more couples sessions where we look at the two profiles of two people who are in love together to look at how they can best support each other, face their challenges, and enjoy their bliss together.
Mm. Beverly's just asked, if you haven't done any of the gene keys, can you still have the 1 hour? Absolutely. And I would personally say it's a fantastic place to start, because I began with looking at the gene keys myself. This was about a decade or so ago. I began looking at the gene keys myself. The book is enormous if you have the paper book. The information is profound, but I struggle to take it in. I struggled to take it in at that time. And having somebody like Peter, and this is why I say that that grounding gift that he is a grounding rod, and he can bring through the information that you might have read and reread and reread or not really taken on board, ground it directly into your personal profile, your personal experience. And again, it doesn't matter where you are in your stage of life. And in fact, I find that when you have a session with Peter and you've lived your life for some time, it also brings that real deep kind of putting the pieces of the jigsaw together as to how you are here where you are, and how beautiful that journey has been, regardless of whether there's been bumps in the road and ups and downs. It's all in your profile, and it's all been that journey from shadow to light, from shadow to city, and you're unfolding the gifts through the mess, as it were, that you may have experienced. And so I personally find it incredibly helpful. I found it helpful at the beginning, and I have had other sessions as well. And I know other people who've gone back at different points in their life just to kind of either reframe or really focus deeply into something, or again, just help with that transition. And we're constantly going through transitions in life.
Thank you. So I do have to head off, but I'm really, really delighted to have had this opportunity with you. And what a great group of people we've got going here. We've got the A team, haven't we? Great.
Absolutely, always.
So many, many blessings to everybody on the call. Very appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us again. And yeah, love your sharings. And there is so much packed into this transmission. So I'm sure people would enjoy listening back and going over and over what you've said. So thank you. I will let you go because I know that
Blessings. Thank you.
you had
Bye-bye.
to
Bye,
shoot off.
everybody.
Bye. Okay. I don't know how to get me on speaker. It's ticked to speaker, but hey ho. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. What a wonderful conversation that we've just had with Peter, and there is so much information that he has just shared, and in this energetic transmission that he's shared. So I will be sorting out the replay. It has been live streaming on the YouTube channel, Lou Matson. And so if you feel the need to listen back, there will also be an audio only. So I'll be sending out an email to everybody on the mailing list with the links for the audio and the video. But what I might do as well is underneath the YouTube replay, I will put the link to the audio only one as well. Peter is a grounding god, not just a grounding rod. He's a grounding god. Fantastic. I love that. And I'm the grounding goddess. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who joined. This is amazing. We had so many people come in. And I love holding space for the summits. And unfortunately, unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be at this point in the year. But I do plan to do the next season in autumn as usual. So until then, so much love to you all. Go steady. Give yourself a massive pat on the back. You have done a fantastic job of holding space, holding the light, so that we can hit this point and move forward in the way that we want to. And just in answer to the lady who asked about the fork in the road, I had a synchronistic conversation with my ex-partner today, and it just embodied that fork in the road. He was choosing to go down the very familiar, and I was kind of, going off at this tangent, but in a direction that's completely guided by my intuition, by spirit. And sometimes that can feel scary, and it kind of feels a bit scary when we might be, parting ways with people that we've shared a lot of time, a lot of space in our lives with. But in all the times that I've made that transition, the most amazing things have come forward, the most amazing people, the most amazing experiences. And the key thing, and I think somebody put it in the chat comments as well, is being your impeccable self, is being your truth. And that's really what this journey is all about. Learning who you are and allowing yourself to be it. Not hiding your light under your bushel, not transmuting your and transforming your light to please others, but just being you, and that perfect version of you that you are. So, and you came here to be. So bless you all. I love you all, and enjoy the energies of the times that we're in. Ride that wave with ease and grace as much as you can. Try not to get bogged down and focused in on the craziness that may appear in front of us on the global landscape, and just hold the frequency that you are, because that's what you're bringing to that external landscape. Who's this? Oh, the collective. Thank you. They work with sound, have been for years. Quit the physical, the world job, and the political job. This is new. Yeah, I quit the corporate a long time ago, and I've never looked back. I mean, it's just been a complete joy to be alive ever since. So I will sign off. I will send all my love to you all as you go along your journeys into the world again. Take care of yourselves. I might put it on gallery actually, just so I can see your beautiful faces. Take care, everybody, and I shall see you all again on the next summit. Much love to you all.